And good afternoon, everybody. How are you guys doing on this terrific Thursday? It is absolutely gorgeous. Hope that you've been enjoying this fantastic weather that we've had for the last several days. Those of you that are like me that have to get out there and do those honeydews and cut that grass, it has been just absolutely fantastic. Being able to just get out there and enjoy yourself and do some wonderful things in the yard, keep everybody happy. I am just again great. I'm glad to be back on with you all. We got a special show for you today. We are celebrating our 14th year as a station, as media, and you just don't know how proud I am and how humble I am at the same time to be able to accomplish this feat. 14 years, we started in my closet September the 5th, 2010. And I was on BlogTalk Radio, and then we were just doing talk radio on Sunday evenings. And, it blossomed from there where we became in the 10% of radio stations for Blog Talk, which at that time had about 35,000 stations and shows that they were airing. And to be in that top 10% was just phenomenal. And we continued with our show. We had celebrities, Tammy Roman. We had basketball players, Eric Williams from the Boston Celtics. We've interviewed Senator Tim Kaine, Senator Warner, and just a number of people. And our guest today, we're just elated to have him back on with us. This is his second time around. Once when he was getting ready for the second term of his victory for the mayor of the city of Richmond. And so I'm not going to everybody want to call and talk to the mayor. You won't be able to talk to him today. So again, just sit back and enjoy the show. I can see a whole lot about this young man. He has a resume about as long as the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia. You all know him. You see him. He's everywhere. He does everything. And he has been just a phenomenal mayor for the city of Richmond. So I want to bring to the stage none other than our 80th mayor of the city of Richmond, the Honorable Levar M. Stoney. How you doing, sir?
Cruz, how you doing, man? Happy anniversary, brother.
Thank you so much, man. It is, it's been a grind, and as you know, anything that you're doing that's worthwhile, you have to put some time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears in it.
Well, to be doing this for 14 years in a row, right? It takes discipline, it takes commitment. A lot of times, and I know you have been a role model for a bunch of our young men in our community. Sometimes folks don't have that discipline and that commitment to get the job done. And I always tell folks, if you are willing to just commit to something, as long as you have for 14 years and be disciplined about it, that's how you create success. The recipe is not very difficult to understand. It's pretty simple. Discipline and commitment.
Well, I certainly appreciate that coming from a man that demonstrates those same attributes, disciplined and committed as well, because people, you make the job look easy, Mayor. And I think that's the thing that people don't understand, that in your position and what you do, especially for a city of this size, with the complexities that it has, you've done a yeoman's job. And I want to say this: every day hasn't been Sunday for you, at all. Let's talk about the first time that you went into the office and what that felt like.
Wow,
yeah, it's been eons ago.
Yeah, the office that's right behind me right here. The first time I went to the office, it was empty. Yeah, it was empty, but there was, I checked inside the desk, and Mayor Dwight Jones had left a note for me. And then this is typical, right? When you leave office, normally the predecessor leaves a little note for you, just give you some guidance and whatnot. And, we had spoken by phone and in person, but that note, which I still have today, it said, that, this job can be overwhelming at times. But, obviously to keep the faith, to also to work on myself as well, to remember to carve out time for me. And at 35, when I was elected in my first year in office, you think you can do everything. I could be the director of Parks and Recreation, the director of Public Works, the director of public utilities. I thought I could do it all. I was showing up at, Boy Scout and Girl Scout, Eagle Scout events, going to backyard picnics and cookouts. I was trying to do it all. And at 35, being single and a young man, I could do all of it. I realize now, as I've evolved, I've grown over time these last 8 years, you can't do it all. And you got to carve out room for yourself. And now I got some passengers along for the ride as well, with a new little girl. I got a new daughter, my first child, and also a wife. And so you got to carve out time for it. There's nothing like going home. Now, back in the day, you can schedule me up till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening, 10 o'clock in the evening. Now, I like to be home for bath time. I like to be home for dinner. I think that's really important.
It is. And to hear you talk about those attributes and those qualities, and really appreciate that, especially, with the city as busy as ours, delegation, I'm sure has been vital to you and making things priority. Just for the sake of people to know, what does a typical day look like for you in terms of, say, starting? What time do you even start in the morning?
Normally, I get started in the morning, about 7 a.m. It's been a little bit earlier now since I have a little girl, and so we're on her calendar, her schedule now. So normally, though, typical day started at 7 a.m. I like to read the news in the morning, what's going on around the world. And so back in the day, you would probably pick up a newspaper. Now I just scroll, bring out the phone, read what's going on, whether here locally, but also nationally, because there's a lot of implications of what goes on nationally that have implications for us here locally as well. And then, if it's a day that I have on my calendar to do a quick workout, I like to do a quick workout, get that in, 15, 20 minutes of like high intensity workout. 50 squats, 50 push-ups, like really, really in succession. Then I like to get ready for the day, pick out something to wear. Normally the security details there waiting for me to pick me up, to send me to my next event. Sometimes it's going directly to City Hall or go directly into a speech, go do something from there. So it starts early and sometimes it ends late. And I think that, you have to have stamina to do this job. I know there's a lot of people who are running for mayor right now, and some people want the job. And I've not hid the ball for many of them. It takes true stamina, and there's an expectation as well. There's an expectation for you to show up too. And there's always going to be someone who says, "Well, I haven't seen him here, I haven't seen him there," but they don't recognize that you're also likely doing something else somewhere else in the city as well. And so my days, sometimes I can have meetings, on every half hour, a different meeting, or every hour I got a different meeting. My Mondays normally, Cruz, I like to start with essentially a bunch of what I call administrative meetings. I want to sit down with my economic development team. I want to sit down with my public safety team to hear about what happened this weekend and whatnot, or what we need to plan for upcoming. During the middle of the week, I normally have my cabinet meeting. I get all my leaders, my top leadership, the C-suite essentially, together for briefing me on what's going on in the city. We go through a round of what I call need to knows. I get the reports ahead of time, and I read those reports about what's going on in each division around the city. Division, I mean, there's an operations division. There's a human services division. So I read all what's going on in each of those divisions, and then I like to go into the meeting and ask them, what do I need to know? I've already read this, but there's something I need to know this week. And so that's, that's Wednesday. And then Friday, normally I like to take it a little bit lighter and do more work in the community instead of being here in City Hall on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. I could be in church on Sunday. and Saturday I could be out, knocking on doors, helping people out run for office, whatever it may be. I'm doing a festival, showing up. I think it's important that the mayor just not only shows up here in City Hall, but also shows up out there in the community as well, being seen at events, being seen patron in restaurants, being seen supporting businesses. I think that's very important.
Absolutely. And, as we noticed from the news yesterday, things will happen, and we want to take a moment to send our prayers and condolences to the city of Winder, Georgia, and that terrible incident yesterday. It just kind of reminds you how precious life is, and that, again, things can happen at a drop of the hat. Uh, Thank God you have never had to experience that per se in the city. But what do you imagine that mayor, that city, is having to deal with? Because I know you talk to a lot of mayors. You're with the president of that council, from my understanding as well.
Mm-hmm.
Give us some insight about that, if you can.
Well, what I was telling the press today when I had my weekly press conference. These tragedies, they hit a little bit differently for me now because I'm a father. Mm-hmm. I've got a kid, and I can only imagine. She might be 6 months now, but there'll be a day where she will go off to school, and to imagine your kid not coming home from a place that should be protected, should be the most secure place for a child to go into to learn. So many kids are not coming home these days, and that really bothers me. It gets under my skin. It makes me mad. I get mad when we lose a life here in the city over some nonsense, something that's silly, but I also get really mad these days when kids can't come home from school because some person has access to a weapon. And so my heart does go out to that community, to that mayor. When I think about, what that mayor is likely going through right now is, you are the mayor. The job of mayor is, you are the leader. And so you are the promoter, the cheerleader for the city, but also in the time of tragedy, your words during those tragedies matter. And calming down, sometimes you need to de-escalate. Sometimes you may need to just be there and just remind them that the community will bounce back and persevere from this. But ensuring that, number one, if it's sometimes these tragedies can be in mass proportions, which means that, sometimes it's hard for them to be the victims to be identified. You think about Uvalde, what they went through, and the kids, unfortunately, were only identifiable by the shoes they were wearing to school that day, right? Or a kid didn't come home, and there's parents out there who are wondering, like, is my kid one of the victims or whatnot? And so ensuring there's an opportunity for them to reconnect with their child, whether it's their body or with them in person, having all those, there's so many balls in the air at one time. And so if I'm that mayor, I'm leaning on my public safety team, obviously on the investigation. How did this happen? What's the next steps? But also I'm continually communicating with the community as well about how we get through this, and also about what happened. You saw in Uvalde when those elementary kids were murdered in their classroom, people were hiding the ball. They weren't transparent. The community will have questions about how did this kid get the gun? What happened inside did the SRO do something? Which I hear the SRO in this case was the one that responded, and this is why the child, the 14-year-old, gave himself up.
I think back, Mayor, and I hate to bring this up. We're not going to get into a lot of details on this because there's a lot of things still pending. But I was there with you doing one of the press conference for June the 6th, and I saw the anguish and the frustration and the hurt and all that in you when we were down there. And again, going back to that, could you have ever imagined that type of thing happening here in our city? And how do you prepare for something like that?
I could not. And here's the thing: every one of these incidents looks different, right? They're trying to get to the bottom of what happened with the 14-year-old. They're trying. You saw what happened in Uvalde. We saw Sandy Hook. they all look different. And the one here in Richmond, June 6th, when we lost 2 lives at a graduation, looked a little bit different as well, as if there was maybe a past beef between these 2 young men. And at a graduation, though, I asked that question that day on June 6th, and I asked that question now after what happened in Georgia as well. Like, is anything sacred any longer?
Right.
Is anything sacred? Right? So if someone can get gunned down at their graduation, they can get gunned down at their wedding, funerals can be a target. Nowhere is sacred anymore. And I believe it's because there's too many damn guns in this country. There are more guns than people. There are more guns than cars. There are more guns in Richmond than there are vehicles, than there are people. To me, that is astounding. The fact that we all know that certain people in this city don't own a weapon.
Right.
To think that there are more guns than people. There are 230,000 people live in the city of Richmond. That means there are high likelihood that there's more guns than 230,000 in this community in general. You get in an argument over at the Pulse bus station. You don't know whether or not the person there has a weapon.
True.
So you can't even, I understand why some folks are fearful of their young men, of their young women, who go out, they go party, you step on somebody's shoes, and then we got a problem.
Right.
Back in the day, even for me, I can say back in the day, you would step on somebody's shoes, there was likely going to be a fight. When my dad was a little, those in your generation, Cruz, it was going to be a fist fight, right?
Right.
Now,
exactly.
I've got to kill you.
Yeah.
I've got to shoot you. To me, here's the thing, Cruz. I get every story about some of the shootings that occur in our city, particularly the ones that are homicides, but I get some of the backstories on some of the shootings.
Right.
We had on the bus, which was silly. The one we had on the bus here near the VCU Health Campus. I thought, that's just, but that is the sort of these, and here's the thing, it's there are times they're isolated, right? Mm-hmm. There isn't like, one gang that's causing havoc throughout the city. These are all different isolated incidents. And a lot of it always it begins with something, trivial and ends with it being somewhat tragic, ending someone's life.
Yeah, and Mayor, being, part of the RPD chaplains program, you see things differently now. I ride along with the officers, and and I think that everybody, needs to do a ride along at some time so that you can understand and appreciate what those officers have to go through. And that everybody's, so quick to be judgmental, but there are a lot of things that can happen and, just quick, fast, and hurry. And unfortunately, everywhere there's, you're going to have those unfortunate incidents. But I want to say this to you and to the chief. We have an excellent, police department. The men and women are very dedicated. They take their job seriously. They are well trained. And I think that's been perhaps a large reason why we don't have the incidents that other cities face. And that I feel that, my sons and other sons in this city are a little bit safer because of the training of our RPD and the expectations that you put in place for our police department.
I absolutely agree with you, Cruz. And, it also begins at the top. And I think that Chief Edwards has been an amazing leader over at the Richmond Police Department. He sets the standard of where the department should go. And I'll tell you this, I've not met someone, I've had the opportunity to work with a number of chiefs. And I will say that I've not met one like Chief Edwards. He loves this community. He loves those who he has the pleasure of working with, who put on the uniform. And, he acts with that love. Everything, when I think about leading is not just, a word you write down on a piece of paper. You got to live it. It's active. And he's an active leader that brings the good out of others as well, right? People always, when I think about, Chief Edwards was a basketball player, right?
Right.
And what type of teammate do you want to have? You have a type of teammate, you want a person who is, yeah, he scored 50 points, but the team lost? Or do you want a person who is going to bring the best out of all the players that are on the team?
Right.
That's who Chief Edwards is. And that's the department that for the last couple of years he's been building. He knows that the community is better, the community is stronger when the police department is strong as well. And even though we've had our challenges in terms of filling the holes left by those who left policing or those who may have retired or gone on to somewhere else, he's done a really good job with less officers than we had, 3 or 4, 5 years ago, and also investing in the department in new technology, new innovation, so we can go about bringing those individuals who wreak havoc in some of our communities, bringing them to justice.
Well, you're right about that. The closure rate, and I'm going to kind of fast forward here because I'm mindful of your time, but the closure rate, bar none, with the detectives and what between the time frame that a crime actually occurs and when they're brought to justice, there's no real huge lag time, especially when you have the community that's cooperating, and then just the excellent work of all of the detectives and putting together all of the pieces. So just wanted to say kudos to them as we.
Hey, can I say, Cruz, you got a special view of some of this that some of our everyday Richmonders don't have, right? And you recognize that it takes not just the police department to solve some of these crimes and keep a community safe. It takes everybody, right? It takes different folks in different agencies that support the police department. It takes the people who live in that community who stand up and say, you know what, I know something's going on here. I'm gonna let y'all know that all matters. It's a room full of stakeholders to ensure that everybody feels safe.
Absolutely. The number of interviews that I've done with the media when we have a tragedy, just like we had over at Tree Haven, people always want to know, how can we curb this? Well, to me, again, we do know guns are an issue, but we talk about gun reform, but we got to have some people reform. And that's the message that I'm preaching and telling about. And anywhere I have a chance is that if you don't have a transformation of the mind, then we're going to continue to have this madness. So people have to start thinking differently, reacting differently, having conflict resolution. And like I said, going back to the day, if you have a beef with somebody, put up some hands. And if you lose, you lose, but you live to see the next day.
And I just add one thing to that, Cruz, as well. Is like I also said, it also starts at home as well. I'm a parent. I had a hard time early on telling parents what they should be doing because I know your home is your domain. However, I do believe that our parents, you got to be curious about what's going on in your child's life. You got to be curious about that. Who are their friends? What time are they home at this time? Why are they out at a certain time? You got to be curious about what's going on in your child. A baseline curiosity. I'm not saying you need to be a helicopter parent and be in everything they do, but you need to be curious. I think you need to be curious.
Absolutely. Mayor, you played quarterback, in high school, and did you play quarterback at JMU?
Nope, I did not. I was, asked to walk on over at JMU. I was recruited to play football at a couple of Division II schools. VMI was one of them as well. And you know what? I just decided I was going to give football up and get involved in politics and government. And so here I am.
Well, this is a segue. A quarterback has to make some very serious decisions, has to be able to read the entire field, know what everybody else, not only know your position, but know the position of all the other teammates, the other 10 that are on the field at that time. How has that helped you to be able to navigate the mayor's office and now moving forward into, we hope, the lieutenant governor's office?
Well, being a quarterback in my high school years and also captain of the football team as well has served me well, in my later part of my life. And that is because, number one, I like having the ball in my hands. And when you are the quarterback, the ball is always in your hands. You are either required, as the play may dictate, to hand the ball off or to throw a pass, or we would run the option back in the day. And that also jogs the mind as well. I mean, that tests the mind as well, because I got to, that first step, I'm putting the ball in the belly of the running back, and then I got to read this hole. Do I give the ball to the running back, or do I go? In city government, as the mayor, I'm getting real-time information and having to make decisions with that information. And here's the thing. Just like in football, just like anything in life, you don't always get it all right.
Right.
There are times when you hold the ball too long and you get sacked, or you don't make the right read and you end up throwing an interception. And that happens in leadership as well. There are times when I'm giving a certain amount of information, and with that information, I make a decision, and then the decision does not work out the way that I thought it was going to work out. But you get an opportunity to run the play again. There are always more downs, and when you've learned from that, you can actually choose a different play. Hey, this play does not work on that defense. Hey, this alignment over there works a little bit differently, allows us to do X, Y, and Z. That's what being a leader is all about. And so I've taken that into my leadership career. Over the course of the last decade, I've been able to serve as the Secretary of the Commonwealth. I've served as 8 years now as mayor. When I think about being lieutenant governor, being a candidate for lieutenant governor next year, I'm going to bring all that experience, 10 years of public service experience, a record as well. And also I lean a lot on my upbringing, Cruz. Mm-hmm. Right? Someone asked me, how are you separated from the other Democrats in this race? I say my record, my raising, and also my passion. That's what separates me from the other candidates in the race, because guess what? Every day I wake up with the passion and energy to do this job. The same energy I woke up with as a 30 to 35-year-old I woke up with, I had the same energy and passion today for not just the city of Richmond, but also for the Commonwealth of Virginia.
As we wind down here, because we know December is coming, and that officially marks the end of your term. What do you see these last, September, 3 months, 90 days actually? What does that look like for you moving forward for the next 90 days?
I've been counting down as 119 days.
119.
Well, who's counted, right? Who's counted?
Right.
These last 119 days, I got some things I want to wrap up. We're doing a full week on the groundbreaking of the Diamond District and the new baseball stadium, which is called CarMax Park. We announced that yesterday. So wrapping that stuff up, laying the foundation for them to be able to break ground on Friday, September 6th, and then full speed ahead to 2026 to open the stadium up. So getting that off my plate and making sure that that's in good shape. Then the next project will be the City Center project in downtown, where we plan on demolishing the old Coliseum, the Richmond Coliseum, and building a 500-room hotel in downtown Richmond, so we can actually utilize our convention center to its full potential. That's something I need to get done with in terms of choosing who the master developer is going to be, making sure we have the financing to ensure we can get this project off the ground. That's a top priority of mine. I want to celebrate some things as well. This is 10 years of the Office of Community Wealth Building. We're going to be talking about that here before the end of the year. What we've done in terms of going about reducing poverty. We've reduced poverty by 22% under my watch. I'm proud of that. 40%. We've seen a 40% increase in household median income, a 50% increase in per capita income. More people are doing better today in Richmond than they were doing 10 years ago. We're going to celebrate some of that work. We're going to celebrate the work we've done with schools, with a 58% increase in funding of Richmond public schools. You saw just the other day, Cruz, that we are doing better when you compare us to other other localities in the country and the state. We are doing better in terms of our improvement from where we were post-pandemic. I think that's because of the investments we're making. We're trying new innovative things like the 200-day RPS 200. I think that's necessary to get these kids caught up from learning loss after the end of the pandemic. And so I'll be there to celebrate that as well. And, my whole thing is this: your job as the mayor is to be a cheerleader for the city. And there are some folks out there, I know we're in an election season, who want to, I think, denigrate Richmond or denigrate City Hall, but they have no context of where the city of Richmond was a decade ago. Right. As Kamala Harris says, like, all this just didn't fall out of a coconut tree. It's about context, right? And so don't compare me to the alternative. Compare me to the Almighty. You don't compare me to the Almighty. Compare me to the alternative. Right. That's what I mean. And sometimes I think folks think that they want to compare me to this perfection, or compare our city to perfection. No, compare us to everyone else, right? Do we have certain challenges ahead? Yes, but are we working on them? Are we investing in them? Is there solutions that we're putting forward to ensure that they don't persist? The answer is yes, but you have to be willing to take that all into context, not just comparing what we did a year ago. Where were we as a city 10 years ago? Right, exactly. I'm going to take you down memory lane. This is Mayor Stoney, this is your life here. And I'm saying this because since day one, when I first met you, you've been the same. You've been accessible. You've been transparent. You brought the fire when you need to bring the fire. You also brought the compassion when you needed to bring the compassion. And I think a lot of times people forget that, you are a humanitarian. You're a man with feelings, and also now a husband and a father. So let's take a little stroll down memory lane here for just a second. Okay. Phase here. Wow. That's a young me right there. Wow. Those are over the years, man. And I'm getting older. You looking younger. Look, I'm noticing now. I said, well, he doesn't have a lot of gray in his hair, but I see the gray in your beard there. Yes, that's what it came in at. That first picture was like about 2009, I think, and you went into office in 2008, first time around. Is that correct? Then as mayor? Yes. No, I was 2016 when I first ran. Okay. Then, 2016. All right. So that picture was at Owens and Minor in 2016, the first one. No way. Yeah. Wow. And the rest of them have been over, like I said, the last 8 years. And wow. I wanted to say, man, I really appreciate you and being that accessible. And I watch you, like I said, I've covered you and from both sides, and from the media side, from a private citizen side, also being on scenes at some of the unfortunate incidents. So I've seen you in just about every aspect. And I want to say, this job comes with a lot of misunderstanding. You made some hard decisions when with the removal of the monuments, which was the long-term goal. People didn't understand why, but there's some things that had to happen in order for us to move beyond our past. So, congratulations. Thank you for being taking the risk, even when they weren't always popular. That's right. Oh, I'm grateful for that, Cruz, and you're right. To me, the gist of this job is about making sure that the city is better tomorrow, right? And all my work has been focused on ensuring that our families are better, our residents are better, our kids are better, and that our city is better than it was when I first started. And I think I'm leaving this city in a space where we can continue to excel and keep on tilting that trajectory, that arrow upward. That's what this is all about. So I get to hand the baton off, but I tell you this, Cruz, I still pinch myself that a kid born to a couple teenagers, with a grandmother who raised me, on her Social Security check, growing up on free and reduced lunch, that I've had an opportunity to be the mayor of Virginia's capital city. And I did it, got elected twice to do so. It will be something that I always will remember. Who knows what the future will hold? I plan on, winning that race for lieutenant governor, but these 8 years right here have been formative years for me. And I'm grateful for people like yourself who have poured into me and allowed me to mature and grow right before your eyes.
I appreciate it. We were talking offline here, and again, I'll be very quick with this, that our backgrounds are similar, that I'm from Memphis, and we're both from outside of Richmond here originally, that my mom was a single mom raising two boys, and she did it on public assistance for $115 a month, and we never missed a meal. Lights were never off, never evicted. People used to call us the insurance men because we always had Sears robot clothing. And my mom prided herself on making sure that her boys, we did what we were supposed to do. We represented her. We sometimes when you grow up, you do some things that you regret, but she laid a foundation where I came back to understanding the sacrifice that she made.
That's right. So, I tell folks, Cruz, all the time that, my grandmother and my father, they were smart people. They had just as much intelligence as I have. But guess what? They made a sacrifice. They were willing to sacrifice what they wanted to be, who they thought they should be, to make sure that my brother, myself, that we get an opportunity. And I made sure not to, I didn't want to miss my opportunity, but also I wanted to take this I didn't want to take this for granted as well. And so the opportunity to serve is personal to me, because I know that there are some people that came before us, Cruz, who made some serious sacrifices to allow us to do what we do. And I don't forget that in my work. Don't forget it.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. And you mentioned passion, and this is where I'm going to lower the helicopter here for us to end this ride, is that it is that same passion and drive that I want to serve the school board with, understanding the potential that our young people have, and that all they need is somebody that is willing to advocate for them, fight for them, and understand that we're setting the foundation for RPS to be a world-class educational experience.
That's right.
Pouring into them and making sure that we get the best performance educational-wise out of them, and that no child is beyond learning. And that's what I firmly believe, is that every child in the city of Richmond has the opportunity to learn. We just need to give them the resources and the tools to do that.
And Cruz, you didn't ask for this, but I want you to know that I support your candidacy to the school board. You have my support. You recognize that the goal should not be mediocrity, that it should be excellence.
Yes.
And you don't walk around every day trying to be mediocre. You try to be excellent. And I think our kids have the same goal in mind. The people that we surround them with as well, the teachers, the educators, they also have to have that goal in mind, that this child, we want to make sure that they're excellent, not mediocre, not average. And so you have my support, brother, and let me know if I can do anything else to ensure that you get on the school board, okay?
I really appreciate that, Mayor. That means a lot to me. And then, I have the example that you've set of, again, being transparent, being accessible, taking, the hits and getting back up. I played football too, and every day wasn't, for me, wasn't running. That's and right. Not being hit. So sometimes you're going to take that hit, but you got to be resilient.
Be resilient.
Yeah, you've been resilient in this job, and thank you. And I'm looking forward, and I want you to know, and you didn't ask for this, that you have the endorsement of Cruz Inc Radio 102.8, Cruz Media, for that next level of your life, for the Lieutenant Governor of the great Commonwealth of Virginia. Anything that we can do, please let us know as well.
I appreciate it, Cruz. Thank you, man, and thank you for this opportunity. And I will be back. Okay.
Yes, sir. It's definitely appreciate you again. God bless you. God bless Richmond, and tell the family I said hello.
I sure will
this evening and love.
I'm sure I'll see you in the community soon.
Yeah, definitely. All right, everybody. Just hold on just a minute, Mayor, and I'll let you go here. Want everybody to know we certainly appreciate the Mayor taking time out to being here with us today. If you missed the telecast, you can always go back. It's going to be on our largest page, also the Richmond VA Things to Do page. 92,000 members. You guys have really pushed that page, and we appreciate it. We want to say thank you to the G Law Firm, our sponsor, for allowing us to be here because it takes money, people, just like in an election and everything else. It takes money to do the things that we do. So you guys have a great rest of your evening. And again, thank you so much for being with us, Mayor. We can't say thank you enough. And God bless you again, and have a great day.
Take care.
Y'all know I'm multitasking here, so it's.
The first thing that you need to do is to make sure you get yourself to as safe place as you can. Find yourself a competent attorney who practices in personal injury and will understand some of the things that you're going through. And as I tell people, for 33 years I've been doing this. I've had my own accident. So I would like to be one of those individuals that they would interview so I can at least try to find out how I can best help them myself.